Hello, BookTube. I have a small mail haul for you here, the very last mail haul of the week. Some of you sharp-eyed viewers may have noticed that yesterday I said that one of my mail hauls then was the last mail haul of the week. And although on the surface that may have looked like the kind of thing that an old coot would say if he spends most of his time reading in bed and isn't quite sure what day it is, in reality, it was a carefully calibrated social experiment designed to underscore the fleeting nature of time in all our lives. And now that we've got that cleared up, let's move on to the last mail haul of the week, shall we? It's just 4 books. We'll see what we have here. This is the first one. Oh, great. Oh, great. Fantastic. This is by Sally Tisdale, and this is Advice for Future Corpses. A practical perspective on death and dying. And the Advice for Future Corpses comes with an asterisk on the title, and the asterisk is for and those who love them. This is all about dead bodies. It's all about the putrefaction and mortification and whatnot. From the sublime, the faint sound of Mozart as you take your last breath, to the ridiculous, lessons on how to close the sagging jaw of a corpse, Tisdale leads the reader through the peaks and troughs of death with a calm, wise, and humorous hand. The book is more than a how-to manual or a spiritual Bible. It is a graceful compilation of relatable and intimate anecdotes based on the deaths Tisdale has witnessed in her work and life, as well as stories from cultures, traditions, and literature around the world. And it explores topics like what it means to say that someone has a good death, and also communication, what to say and not to say, what to ask when from the dying, loved ones, doctors, and more. Last months, weeks, and days, what actually happens to the body in the long process of dying, and all about grief. So there's a serious element to it, but it's done with a kind of light touch that I think is pretty much the only way that you can really successfully do this. And it will be fascinating to me. So this comes out in mid-June. Advice for Future Corpses. All right, what a way to start on a sunny Saturday afternoon that I knew all along was Saturday. Okay. Let's see what this next one is. Weather forecasts are universal in calling for snow tonight. And neither I nor anyone else believes them. That's the price you pay for getting something spectacularly wrong. Completely, universally wrong. If 10 meteorologists in the New England area all say you're going to be dealing with whiteout conditions and snow for the next 24 hours, and not only does that not happen, but nothing happens, they just misplace a gigantic nor'easter, then there's a long period where people in New England simply don't believe. They don't even look at the news forecasts anymore. For a long period, for a week, maybe 10 days, those weather forecasters might as well be talking to the wall in the newsroom studio because no one's listening to them. Because you can go outside and guess, and you too can misplace a nor'easter. So why bother paying attention to what somebody says on the news? But those forecasts nevertheless are calling for snow tonight, and I don't believe it, so I'm not... Oh, fantastic. You know, I was just the other day wondering where the finished copy of this thing was. This is a March release, I think. Oh, no, this is early April. Okay, this is Lanny Frida. This is a new biography of Francis I. He of the epic schnoz. Was a king of France when everything was happening. It was a fascinating life. I've only read one biography of him, and those of you who've watched this channel for a long time will know exactly which biography that is and who wrote it. But let's see here. This author did a biography of Catherine de' Medici, and here she tells the extraordinary story of Francis of France, Catherine's father-in-law and the man who turned France into a great nation. Francis saw himself as the first Renaissance king, a man who was the exemplar of courtly and civilized behavior throughout France and Europe. He was also a courageous and heroic warrior, a keen aesthete, an accomplished diplomat, and an energetic ruler who transformed his country to be a force to be reckoned with. Okay. And the author is okay. She wrote a best-selling biography of Catherine de Medici, which I really should find and reread. If I know that I read it and I liked it, I don't know if I still have it. And she's also written another book on women in the Renaissance, and she lives in London. And I got to say, although it has no bearing on her book's quality, she really knows how to take an author photo. Makes those of us who look like bubonic plague victims just a little bitter. All right, so Francis I, the maker of modern France, in a finished copy at long last. And then we move on. Let's see here. 2 more to go here. What is this next one? An advanced copy of something. Oh, great. Oh, terrific. I requested this because it's a debut novel, and I love debut novels. Just can't get enough of them. This is by Randy Kennedy, and it is Presidio. It's a car culture American cover with a rainbow on it, and a blurb from Larry McMurtry, no less. In fact, since he's Larry McMurtry, let's see what he has to say. Randy Kennedy captures the funny yet tragic restlessness of survival in an unforgiving place. Let's hope he keeps his novelistic cool and brings us much, much more. Okay. This is a modern incarnation of a classic story from the Old West. The novel is a gritty, gorgeously written literary debut set in the vast, arid landscape of 1960s Texas Panhandle. 1970s Texas Panhandle. Okay. The darkly funny and fiercely compelling story of a car thief who joins his brother on a misbegotten mission. The girl they unwittingly kidnap and her desperate, volatile father unspools across miles of back roads and small-town motels until it ends inexorably in the border town of Presidio. Oh, I like the sound of that. Oh, my. Okay. Okay, so who is Randy Kennedy when he's at home? He was born in San Antonio and raised in Plains, Texas. Hey, I know both those places. I know Plains quite well. A small farming town on the stark mesa that covers most of the Panhandle. After graduating from the University of Texas at Austin, I also know the University of Texas at Austin quite well. Kennedy worked for 25 years at the New York Times. Good Lord. First as a city reporter, and then for many years covering the art world. A collection of his city columns, Subwayland, was published in 2004. I think I read Subwayland. Wow, so this is a debut novel, but this is not a young novelist. This is not a young writer at all. Oh, wow. Okay. He has written about many of the most prominent artists of the last 50 years, including John Chamberlain, Claes Oldenburg, Bruce Nauman, Nan Golden. Currently, Kennedy is director of special projects for the International Art Gallery Hauser and Wirth and lives in Brooklyn with his wife and their 2 children. Huh. Okay. All right, so this is a debut novel, but this is a very experienced writer. That always throws the math off just a little in interesting ways. So who knows what? I mean, this is an author who could sell a book of the type that he has already written, and in the métier, in the style, and in the genre that he's already well practiced in, and yet he's trying his hand at a novel, which is fascinating. Who knows what that means? This is probably percolated inside him for a long time. So it comes out in late August, but I'm eager to get to it. Okay, so that was our first novel. So this is our last book. Are we going to be 50-50 fiction and nonfiction? Or is this going to be more nonfiction? Oh, okay. All right, this is another copy of something that we've already seen. A biography of Tiger Woods that I have on my nightstand. I have it on my nightstand to read this weekend. I haven't got to it yet, but it's next on the launch pad. I've had it praised to me by a couple of people who know what it means to praise something to me. They know that I'm going to remember they praised it and that I'm going to hold it against their track record if they're wrong. And a couple of these people are old friends of mine, old reading or critical friends of mine, who know that I don't know anything about golf and that I don't know anything about Tiger Woods. So they're keeping that in mind when they recommend it to me. They did the same thing with just recently, just at the end of last year, a biography of Kobe Bryant, the basketball player. that I knew nothing about him at all except vaguely a sexual harassment case that vaguely made the news, but I wasn't paying much attention because I didn't follow him in sports. And I had people, though he was the subject of a recent biography, I had these same people say, you got to read it. You're going to love it. And I did. I really did love it. It was fantastic. And they're saying that about this book. I don't know if it'll turn out to be true. But, okay, so for instance, Wright Thompson from ESPN decided to stake out the high ground and saying, if King Lear had been about golf, and you really don't need to go on from there, not since Carrie, or if the great Russian novelists had turned their lens toward modern expectations and fame, toward the most American father of fathers and sons, the result would be this book. The rise and fall of Tiger Woods in these pages is both mythic and poignantly small and human. And Michael Baumgartner, who's a writer for Sports Illustrated, says, I have been trying to write about Tiger since he was a teenager. I thought he was unknowable. This book proves me wrong. Here, finally, is Tiger. So we'll see. It's got glowing blurbs, and it's the authors did 400 interviews with over 250 people from every corner of Tiger Woods' life, including scores of people who've never previously been interviewed. From these interviews and extensive, carefully sourced research, they have uncovered new, intimate, and surprising details about the man behind the myth. We read an inside account of Tiger's relationship with his love, Dina Gravel, and their excruciating breakup at the hands of his parents. We learn that Tiger's longtime sports agency, International Management Group, made $50,000 annual payments to Tiger's father as a talent scout years before Tiger was their client. We discover startling new details about Earl being Tiger Woods' father, who died in 2006 and to this day lies in an unmarked grave. We come along as Tiger plunges into the Las Vegas and New York nightclub worlds alongside fellow superstars Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley. We are whisked behind the scenes during the National Enquirer's globetrotting hunt to expose Tiger's infidelity, and we get a rare look inside his subsequent sex addiction treatment at Pine Grove facility in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Huh. Okay. All right. Okay. Just on the surface, I don't claim that this pub sheet is making any claims to be comprehensive or complete, but on the surface of that reading, there's a big thing missing, right? The authors have conducted more than 400 interviews with over 250 people from every corner of Tiger's life, including scores of people who have never been previously interviewed. What's missing from that? Tiger Woods himself is missing from that. So now I want to know, was this book written without him? Is this a biography of a living sports legend that doesn't talk to the sports legend? I'm not saying that rules it out at all. I'm not saying that even hampers it. But it's worth knowing. I should probably sniff around and find out. Although I would imagine that 10 pages of reading will tell me too. So there you go. That is our. We got 2 biographies this time around. We got a biography of Francis I, the famous King of France, and a biography of Tiger Woods, famous King of Golf. And then we have a nonfiction book, Advice for Future Corpses, all about death and dying, from a biological standpoint as well as psychological or spiritual. And Presidio, a debut novel by a veteran writer who's just decided to finally write that novel. You know, stringers and freelancers and nonfiction writers of all kinds, they almost always have that novel kicking around inside them. They dream about it. They take notes on it. They always postpone it. They think the day will come. Right now I have to write for money. But the day will come when I will try for immortality. My father had such a novel, never actually got around to writing it. I had such a novel for years and years and years. Thought, okay, the time will come when you will write your Roman novel. And that will be that. You won't write any other novels because, you know, it'll be late in your life, but when the time comes, that's what you'll do. And who knows what happened for Randy Kennedy to finally do this. Maybe he got some time. Maybe he had a bit of bad news. That was the truth in my case. I got a bit of bad news. I got someone, well-meaning professionals, just one more thing he had to do that day. To look across the desk at me and say, I have some very bad news, and we'll try to get you some good time. All of a sudden, all of those assumptions, everything you took for granted, just telescopes into his tie clip. All of a sudden, in that moment, you will do anything. You'll work round the clock, nonstop, without eating, without drinking, without talking to anyone, to get everything done in the time you have left. So I'm not saying that's true in Randy Kennedy's case, but who knows what it was. That would be fascinating. Let that be a lesson to you, book 2. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't assume you have any time at all. Don't wait. Do it right away. Get to work. But we don't want to ruin a perfectly nice video, especially when it's our last book haul of the week. So there we go. That is it. And I will see you soon. Thank you, book 2.